Ferrari is really trying to climb back up the ranks in Formula One. That early season triumphalism was based on pretty superficial certainties, and now the Maranello technicians and engineers have rolled up their sleeves. We are talking about the trackside team here, working hard to identify the complex compromise that can extract the maximum performance, even with the SF25's inherent issues. It's a task that, at least in Charles Leclerc's case, has actually yielded results, with 2 podium finishes in the last 2 races. Several factors undoubtedly contributed to those podium finishes. The Monaco street circuit is a track with some really unique characteristics, where the Monegasque driver just thrives like nowhere else through the tight streets of the Principality. Last weekend at the Circuit de Catalunya-Barcelona in Spain, the car's potential just wasn't podium-worthy, but for once, luck smiled on car number 16. As often happens, those used to handling underperforming cars tend to maximize results. Charles Leclerc has been doing this since his Formula One debut, except for those brief periods when Ferrari actually provided a car capable of winning. It is in his blood. He never gives up and always tries to achieve more than expected. It is a completely different story for the 7-time Formula One world champion. Lewis Hamilton is handling Ferrari's difficulties in much the same way he did during his last 3 seasons at Mercedes. The record-holding driver has often shown a certain detachment when the car hasn't met expectations, which, considering his age, is somewhat understandable. On the other hand, when he has had a competitive car since 2022, he has transformed into the same relentless competitor who once dominated an entire era of Formula One. Apart from the sprint win in China, the Anglo-Caribbean champion has often looked like a passenger in his car. It's true that adjusting to a completely different environment takes time, but the learning curve is also hindered by a car that does not give the British driver confidence and therefore doesn't allow him to reach the limit. To a lesser extent, even Carlos Sainz at Williams is undergoing a challenging adaptation period, difficulties amplified by Alex Albon's strong performances, as he is much more accustomed to driving the British car. After 9 Grands Prix, the 2025 Formula One season already seems defined. McLaren and its drivers currently have no rivals. Nevertheless, the historic Italian team intends to approach the remaining 15 races of the championship by raising its performance level. The team led by Vasseur is working at a relentless pace. The goal is to finalize a comprehensive package of aerodynamic updates. The first update will be a new floor spec expected to debut in the Austrian Grand Prix weekend at the Red Bull Ring. According to information gathered and reported by the Italian media, this is a preparatory step ahead of mechanical changes to the rear. In essence, the new floor will not bring a major performance gain. It is a functional update tied to the upcoming improvements the team plans to introduce gradually. Following the Spanish Grand Prix, Charles Leclerc, despite another podium, made it clear that the current level of the SF25 is not up to that of its competitors. Without short-term updates, more podiums will be impossible. These are the words of a driver who hasn't given up, hoping that corrections to Project 677 can allow him to remain competitive until the end of the 2025 Formula One season. Team principal Vasseur shares the same outlook, confirming it is not yet time to think about the 2026 Formula One championship. Lewis Hamilton, however, holds a completely different view, not due to emotional swings, but from a calculated perspective. Vasseur acknowledged that it had been some time since Ferrari introduced any updates. The French manager explained that the team would continue to push with the current package and emphasized that the focus for this year was on laying the groundwork, learning the available tools in terms of structure and processes. That way, when the 2026 Formula One championship arrives, Ferrari hope to have the car they really want. Lewis Hamilton's words essentially draw the curtain on the current season. Thanks to his vast experience, he knows that getting ahead of the game could be decisive for 2026. Will someone at Ferrari listen to him, or will we witness desperate efforts to revive the SF25 single-seater just to protect someone's job? With the first third of the 2025 Formula One season now complete, it is time to begin early assessments. Ferrari's future hangs in the balance, and the coming month will be crucial in deciding whether to focus on upcoming updates or shift entirely toward 2026. The Spanish Grand Prix in Barcelona provided some interesting insights. The technical directive, TD018 on flexible wings, does not seem to have reshuffled the balance of power, contrary to what many teams, Ferrari in particular, had hoped. The Maranello squad genuinely believed this new rule could weaken the excellent MCL39. Things did not go as expected, and now it is time for Ferrari to reflect. The SF25, touted as the car meant to bring the prancing horse back to glory, is proving to be unfit for that role. The problems are known: a mechanical setup that doesn't allow the use of the ride heights envisioned in the initial design, and a concept with very little margin for adjustment. While updates are on the way, the future remains uncertain, and thoughts are already shifting toward 2026. Ferrari's pool of engineers and technicians has been working for some time to resolve the SF25's problems. A new suspension is also expected to debut at Silverstone, along with a revised bodywork package including side pods, floor, and engine cover. Last year proved that nothing is impossible, but a quick glance at the current standings, nearly 100 points behind in the Drivers' Championship and almost 200 in the Constructors, makes a comeback unlikely, even with 15 races to go. There is also no guarantee that the aerodynamic updates will work as expected. Ferrari has made mistakes before, like with last year's mid-season developments. These new upgrades represent yet another variable, highlighting how hard it will be to close the gap to McLaren. Moreover, the Woking-based team won't be standing still. Andrea Stella's squad also has updates planned, and they rarely miss their mark. Belief in a comeback is fading, and some are already looking to the 2026 project. This makes Ferrari's climb back up the rankings even harder. And although Frederic Vasseur is trying to rally the team, some, Lewis Hamilton chief among them, believe it is smarter to look ahead. The 2026 Formula One regulations will bring major changes: active aerodynamics, lighter cars, flat floors, and new engines. As the seven-time world champion hinted to the media during the Spanish GP, redirecting resources toward 2026 may be wiser than continuing to pour energy into a failed project. It is a strong stance, but one that reflects harsh reality. When Lewis Hamilton arrived in January, expectations were sky-high. Everyone expected to see a dominant Ferrari. That has not happened, and Lewis Hamilton's resignation has become evident in interviews, where he appears dejected and noticeably less motivated than his Maranello teammate. Unfortunately, Lewis Hamilton's recent and repeated statements don't sound like they stem from frustration or anger. Rather, it is time to face facts. The SF25 single-seater is nearly a failed project in every respect, and realistically it is very difficult to believe that even with a successful aerodynamic update package, the Maranello team can recover the deficit in time to actually challenge McLaren for any title this season. Therefore, as has so often been the case in recent years, abandoning the planned updates and focusing fully on the 2026 Formula One car now seems like the wisest choice for the Italian side.